Mr. Battaglia, what's your position on taxes?
We need to address the tax code immediately, and I actually quite agreed with Ron Corbett when he was in the race on that. Our tax code is not that far off from the absurd tax code of the federal government.
What do you want to do?
My tax plan does call for a phase out of the income tax entirely. This is gradual, and we do add numerous revenue sources before we really can accomplish that.
Mr. Porter, what's your position on tax?
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is look at the budget. The budget is in crisis right now. The state's, stealing money from the emergency funds every year. It's continual. They have these, they don't project right. And so they end up, what they do is they steal money from the emergency funds, or they do these mid-year budget cuts. So they've already allocated money, and then they're telling departments and agencies that we've got to cut this back. They don't even pay tax refunds on time right now because the money's not in the Treasury. Now, they may lie and say, well, for security reasons, we're withholding your tax refunds. The truth is they don't have the money in the Treasury. The first thing we need to do is to address the spending before we start to get into taxes. I am a fan of eventually phasing out the Iowa sales tax over time, but before we even get to that, I want to address spending first.
Well, let's talk about this. You want to phase out the sales tax, Mr. Porter. Mr. Battaglia, you want to phase out the income tax. What's wrong with the other guy's position here? What are the merits of this? Mr. Porter?
Well, I think, one, to get something through the legislature, you're going to have consensus of both Democrats, Republicans, and Libertarians, and multiple people. And also, when you look at the sales tax, so under my plan, the local option sales tax would stay around. I mean, we cannot undo that. The local governments should be able to set their own tax rates as far as that goes. But what we can do is we can phase that out, and we look at who the sales tax primarily impacts, and that's the poorest Iowans. It creates a lot of problems. It creates problems with people lifting themselves out of poverty, because everything that you buy, or pretty much everything you buy with the exception of food, is going to be taxed through the sales tax.
Mr. Battaglia, if you phase out the income tax, you're going to have to go someplace for money, aren't you? Won't you raise the sales tax?
I don't disagree with anything he said. I'm not really a fan of the sales tax either, but I have studied the makeup of the legislature, and that is really why I threw my hat in the ring. I think a lot of our active legislators and people that are running in this cycle want the governor to have a bolder plan. Right now, it's just this incremental phase out where we don't really see the end game of no income tax. We do have an example in the country of New Hampshire that actually has no income tax, no sales tax, so it is an achievable goal, and they still have top-notch education, world-class health care, affordable by the standards of the rest of the country.